So dear brothers, it's going to be 5 years in a few months since we celebrated. I'm sure that the invitation of the chapter to undertake the 3 transformative processes in our congregation is bearing fruits in our life and mission. This year, 2020, marks several important events in the congregation. 150 years of the arrival of the Claretians in the new wine that Claret fondly called, in the same year that the Lord called him to the Father. 125 years of the arrival of Claretians in Brazil. 75 years of Claretian presence in Philippines. 50 years of Claretian presence in Cameroon and in India. Meaningful commemoration of these events in this Claretian year, Año Claretiano, is a good prelude to the next general chapter that we hope to celebrate in 2021. We stepped into this sexennium with the new impulse brought to the church by the pontificate of Pope Francis, and our reflections were greatly influenced by his 2 magnificent documents, Evangelii Gaudium and Laudato Si. The invitation of the Pope to the Claretians to adore, to work for, and accompany charted a way of being missionaries today, centered in the Lord and going forth in mission, accompanying the people of God. I like to remind some of the significant events in the church after the chapter. We walked in the spirit of the chapter and continued to enrich our life and mission from the ongoing teachings of the Pope and the events taking place in the church. I like to recall some of the significant events and teachings that we have had in the church after the last chapter. Synod of Family. In 2015, celebration of the Year of Mercy. 2016, a few of the Claretians were also missionaries of mercy, which the Pope sent to all over the world. Synod of the Youth and the Synod of Amazonia. Important documents such as Amoris Laetitia, Veritatis Gaudium, Gaudete Exsultate, and Christus Vidit. In the past years, the Church has lived through difficult and challenging situations as well as many graceful moments. Pope's encounters with other churches and religions, the 500th anniversary of Reformation, it was in Sweden, the kicking off of the celebration, visit to Egypt and United Arab Emirates, and his dialogue with Muslims, especially his visit to the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Sheikh Ahmad Muhammad Al-Taib in Cairo in 2017, and the meeting the Grand Imam Ahmed Tayahe in Dubai 2019, the joint ventures of mutual respect and fraternity with the Orthodox Church, with the Coptic Pope, His Highness Pope Tawadros II in Egypt, Lutherans during the joint prayer service with the Lutheran Archbishop Jacqueline of Sweden, the Anglicans, mediation of peace in South Sudan with Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, and the possible joint visit to South Sudan possibly this year. And the Muslims, the joint declaration of fraternity in Dubai. These were important steps to create better and fraternal human society and care of our common home. The various events focused on authentic Christian life within, renewal within, and welcoming and fraternal relationship with others to create a more just and fraternal society. A wound that has been festering in the church and the society is the scandal of sexual abuse, especially of minors. This country, Chile, itself has witnessed some painful moments from the wounds in the body of the church related to sexual abuse of minors by church personnel. And it has debilitated the prophetic voice of the church in Chile, it is still being felt. The visit of the Pontiff to Chile in 2018 and the subsequent events paradoxically has helped the Church to address the issue honestly and courageously. The meeting of presidents of bishops' conferences, heads of Vatican dicasteries, and some superiors generals of the congregations in Rome in February 2019 affirmed the resolve of the Church to create safe environment for children in the Church and to promote a culture of responsibility, accountability, and transparency at all levels of functioning in the Church in order to combat irresponsible behavior and unaccountable ways of doing things and doing things hidden. As a congregation, we too are committed to create such a culture which requires the missionaries, irrespective of their roles in the church, in the congregation, to assume responsibility for what they do, give account of their actions to those who owe it, and to be transparent in all matters. I think we need to grow more in this regard. We have been also observing reforms in the Roman Curia, which has been in the agenda of the pontificate of Pope Francis. It seems to be taking place in its own pace with the creation of the Secretariats of Economy and of Communications. Reform is a continued process in the Church as well as in the congregation. A significant event is the abolition of pontifical secrecy to become a more transparent Church when it comes to issues. I recall these events because, as part of the Church with a prophetic charism, we as missionaries should be in the vanguard of the transformation that the Spirit brings about in the Church in every epoch. The Synod of the Youth in 2018 and the World Youth Day in Panama in 2019 have given attention to the youth in the Church as both agents and recipients of the proclamation of the Gospel. It has boosted our initiatives in youth ministry all over the congregation to some extent. I am glad to see that practically all the major organisms have either prefectures or secretariats and a very organized approach to do youth ministry and vocations. Another significant event that called attention to the plight of the people at the margins of the society and the wounded planet was the Synod of Amazon and the invitation to have our eyes on those on the margins. It invited us to look at our own presence among the vulnerable population in the planet and our commitment to the care of creation. However, in recent times, the political and economic world scenario has deteriorated in many parts of the world, which has eroded confidence in democratic processes. We have also many democratic autocracy or despotism. More money flows to the purchase of arms to threaten or kill fellow humans in the name of national security than to meet millennium developmental goals in the world. Many countries in America, especially Venezuela, Nicaragua, Bolivia, Ecuador, Argentina, Chile, have very troubled socio-political situations. The Middle East has been fuming with war and terrorist movements in the past several years, and now the US-Iran situation has created a very uncertain situation in the world. Africa by and large seems to be neglected, and Boko Haram and other radical groups, unbridled corruption and sectarian conflicts have led to mass migrations and massive displacement of people, causing untold suffering. In Asia, democratically elected despotic governments show iron fist in dealing with social issues. The global economic recession and growing unemployment is deepening the chasm of inequality in the society, pushing more and more people into the margins. We are experiencing the effects of global warming and climate change each year in front of our eyes as well as from the world news. In this context, Our missionaries also sometimes took heroic decisions. I especially appreciate our province of Colombia, Venezuela, for the way they stand with the people of Venezuela by choosing to remain, even having the theological, the students there, rather than taking them away out for our security. We cannot abandon our people when they are suffering. So also in other areas. In the midst of this precarious socio-political and economic scenario in the world, we are a small group of missionaries with our own limitations to share a mission in the church, to share the mission of Jesus in the church and in the world. It is the mission of Jesus in the world. Reading through the documents of the chapters, I am touched by the concerns addressed by the 18th General Chapter of 1973. It's very interesting to see, after the definition of our identity and the post-Vatican crisis, how that chapter was dealing with some issues which are also important for us today. It addressed some of similar concerns in a much more radical way. The question of vocations, endurance and perseverance, which was much more serious those days, was the central focus, and the solutions proposed were witnessing communities, participative government, and convincing commitment to the people at the margins. And further it led to the famous Magna Carta of missions, the mission of Claretianos today in 1979. Through the subsequent chapters, the congregation continued the renewal process by being fully present in the journey of the church and the renewal programs of Second Vatican Council. After more than 50 years, we are yet in another moment of history with many changes which paradoxically open up missionary opportunities. Perhaps the hallmark of our times is the integral vision and networking which express the need of humans to go beyond the exploitative ecosystems and strive for an ecosystem in the spirit of the kingdom of God which Jesus preached. We have chosen to be in Chile to join our brothers in America to commemorate the 150 years of the arrival of missionaries in America and the inauguration of the 150th anniversary of the death of our founder as an auspicious moment to begin our preparation for the 26th General Chapter. The change of epoch that we are going through today calls for serious discernment of our mission as missionaries in the world today. The 25th chapter invited us to explore new methods and ways of organizing our general and provincial chapters in its different phases: preparation, implementation, and evaluation. And we are collectively responsible for the life and mission of the congregation, and hence all need to be involved in seeking together what the Lord is asking of us in our times and respond with the fiat of our Heavenly Mother. We shall learn from the audacity of our founder in living our missionary vocation in creative fidelity. Speaking of the general chapter, I would say that the very preparation is as important as the celebration and the implementation phase of the chapter. In all three phases, we need to be collaborators of the Spirit who guides the church and the congregation. I invite you to keep in your mind the image of the compass that Claretianos used so that we do not get distracted by secondary concerns. We shall keep one point fixed in the Lord and His Word, and the other on the reality of the world. We need to attune our capacity for listening, which presupposes silence of the heart to listen to the Lord and to the cry of the people. Dialogue that flows from listening and sharing from the heart builds communion of life and missionary commitment through prayer, fraternity, and service. Let us learn and practice them together in the whole chapter event. Discernment is the art that is most needed in living according to the Spirit, as St. Paul tells us. During the past years of our life and mission, what has been becoming clearer about the reality of our congregation at the universal level and in each of the major organisms. Where is the Spirit inviting us to go? What should be the main focus during the preparatory stage of the chapter? Let us explore them together in prayer, dialogue, and honor. By our founder for proclaiming the gospel by our own joyful missionary commitment in our times. And God bless us all. Thank you.